Elisia.
Hello, how are you?
I'm so good. For some people who, well, actually, most people don't know, but Alicia and I got on a couple of minutes earlier and we had some technical difficulties that I was not working through. We couldn't hear each other, but we worked it out.
We did.
And here we are. Thank you so much for joining me. Um, well, here's the thing. I haven't met you before, and it's been interesting meeting new moms and finding out all these like news stories and just hearing all about it. So let's start off with you telling me a little bit about yourself, and we'll just kind of lead into it. There's so many things I want to know. So tell me about
Okay.
let's go with the first pregnancy and motherhood.
Okay. So we had an unplanned pregnancy when we got married, and that led to a loss in 19 weeks. And then we tried again a couple years later, and we lost that baby too. Both were boys. That was at 24 weeks.
Wow.
And after going through all of that, we found out that I have what's called a protein S deficiency, which requires me to take blood thinners by injection every single day that I'm pregnant and 6 weeks afterwards. And now we have three healthy, beautiful baby girls. So,
I am so interested in this whole thing. So I have so many questions. When you had lost the first baby, did you know when it happened, or was it through a doctor's visit? And was it due
so
to this protein
um,
deficiency?
I'm not too sure.
Okay.
Well, I was with one provider, and she was just like, "Oh, it's just, sometimes that happens. Being a first time mom, nothing really to worry about." But something in my spirit said, let's go for another doctor because I didn't like the way everything played out during the delivery of the stillbirth and all of that. So, um, yeah, so
Sorry, and
I.
how was that? I'm familiar with stories that I've seen
Mhm.
on social media, which is such a vague thing. You just kind of read the words and you know the person, but
Mhm.
I'm just so unfamiliar with the experience, and I want to know about it. I want to know what it was like for you, if you're willing to share. Like
Oh, sure.
I can't imagine going through it, and I know there are so many moms that have had
Mhm.
to deal with it. So will
Yeah.
you tell me about, I guess, finding out about it and the, not to call it a procedure, but like the process that you had to go through for.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So, we went in for a routine ultrasound to see baby and all of that. And funny thing is that we got the genetics test done, and they had said, well, your baby has, this and this and this, and, possible Down syndrome and all of that. And so the next time we went in, there was no heartbeat. And I kind of don't remember anything up until going home and having to deal with, realizing that also my baby had passed away 5 weeks previous. So felt I was 19 weeks, but he was 15 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, um,
Wow.
so they said that, you have to either have a DNC where I wouldn't be able to, hold him or meet him, or you could deliver him. And I chose to deliver him. And that in itself was pretty scary because I had to do it by myself, just me and my husband. The nurses really weren't supportive at the hospital that we delivered at.
Really?
Yeah. So that is what prompted me to choose another provider for our next baby.
I bet. I'm
Yeah.
surprised that they weren't attentive and
Hmm.
more present. And especially since it's your first time, the whole thing is you being a first time mom and then being in
Yeah.
such a situation that's so, emotional and could be
Hmm.
traumatic. And for you to do it alone is really unfortunate.
Yeah. And then, it looked like they were unprepared, but again, through that hard time, it prompted me to choose another provider, which is probably the reason why we have three healthy baby girls now. So, just turning that into a positive.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
so, and that was when you were 19. And then when did you get pregnant again?
Oh no, I was at that when I got pregnant the first time, I was 30,
30. Oh, sorry, it was 19 weeks. Sorry
19
about
weeks.
that.
Yeah.
And so then after you had delivered,
hmm
man, I'm cautious about saying words and not saying certain words because I try to put myself in your shoes and I can't even get there. I can't put myself in that place of the emotions and then kind of shutting myself away from it almost. Like you seem so strong and upbeat and you have made a good point to like turn yourself to like, well, this is the positive that we have gained from it. And,
Right.
it seems like you're seeing it, there's no reason to sit on it. But I'm sure, to go through that was so, how was it for you, I guess? I
It
want to
was pretty
ask.
it was pretty tough because prior to that I had lost my dad. So I lost my dad in August of 2013, and then we got married, and then we lost our baby around my birthday in December of 2013. But what is um, pretty crazy about it all is that our first baby shares the same birth date as our rainbow baby. Yeah.
Interesting.
hmm
What do you say about it in your household?
Well, the girls don't know about their brothers yet, but our oldest does know that she is our rainbow baby, and that just means that through the storm we survived, and now we're able to enjoy a beautiful um, time with her.
Man, what a like motherhood in general can be really rough. Like it's just
Yes.
so many unknowns and you just kind of go for it. And although there's a lot of advice and
hmm
people you can reach out to, not until you're actually there do you experience it and figure things out. And to be placed in a position of even more unknowns, and from what at least I understand, you will have a better idea of this, but it doesn't seem like many people do talk about it. They kind of mention, like, oh, there's been a loss and they grieve it as a loss. But again, I have no information about it at all because it doesn't seem like it is that spoken about. And
Right.
so it seems
It's
like
not.
yeah, and it seems like you had to go, you know, just dive into this really, really, really unknown pool
hmm
and kind
Yeah.
of see if you can just swim. I'm
Well,
sorry about that.
oh, no worries. It's I'm stronger now because I look back and I realize that I needed to go through those things to become a better mom. I wouldn't have, not saying that you don't have to go through loss to appreciate motherhood, but it made me appreciate it even more. After all the times wondering, will I ever become a mom? Even, thinking that, oh, I'm so old, I'm past 30 and all of this. And, I've always had the desire, but um, I, relish that time because it's what I needed to grow.
Wow. That's really just strong of you. Like, I don't have a better word, but just to be able to reflect and see that and stand up strong with your head held high, saying, this is the stuff that I've been put through. This is the path that I had to walk. And
hmm
this is what I got out of it. And to be such a good mom for is it three girls do you
hmm
have now? For your
Yeah.
three girls. So how old are your girls? And tell me about sorry, let me back up. Was then there's a second?
Yes. So we went with the new provider, and this baby was very planned. We were doing the ovulation kits and we were doing the temperatures, and it took us a couple of cycles just because I was just going so crazy with, the temperature and when I'm ovulating and all that. Um, but eventually we did get pregnant again. And this time, we were like, oh, yes, this is awesome. Everything is great. The DNA test came back, or the genetics test came back, 100%. Nothing's wrong. this time, and this time I did feel when I lost him. And it was like after I had I was 24 weeks. It was around Halloween time, and I had a work, and I remember that my heart started racing really fast, and then it was fine. And then I was taking some courses at the local college, and I was sitting down in this garden, and then there was these butterflies that were flying away from me. And that was the last time I felt him kick. And when I got home, I told my husband, I think there's something wrong. So we brought out our fetal monitor, and I just heard a very faint heartbeat. And, at that point, I didn't know what to do. To this day, I'm like, I should have just went into the hospital and, checked it out. Maybe he could have been born, but I get this is the way that, it was supposed to be. So after that loss, my new provider was very adamant of finding out what exactly the cause of these losses were about, because she was really great. She was like, there's no reason why this should be happening. Here's my cell phone, call me at any time. And she was just really great then, and really great throughout my pregnancies and deliveries of my baby girls. But after some time, I took some blood tests and found out that's when I have the protein S deficiency, which means that I have a really strong tendency to clot, and inside of my placenta was a whole bunch of clots. So he starved of oxygen. Yeah, that was hard.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. That's just... it's hard to even know what to like... Oh, Elisia, I think I have lost you. Let's see if she'll come back.
Sorry, I was coughing.
No, that's all right. I've lost your video somehow. Can you hear me still?
I'm here.
Can you see me?
I can see you.
I can't see you.
Okay.
I can see you. Okay. Well, shoot. I mean, when you pregnant for that second time, how were you emotionally after recovering from this first loss? Because, I mean, I just don't know where you would be in your headspace, like, oh, I don't want this to happen again, or this is going to be the one, or, I can see how it would be such an emotional roller coaster. And so I just want to know, how was it for you to then deal with that second one?
So with that one, sorry, I'm just coughing.
No worries. Do you want to get some water?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah, of course. Get some water. Alicia's gonna go get some water, and she'll be right back. But I'm here hanging out with you guys, whoever's watching. Hi. What a story. We haven't even got to our whole motherhood with the other ones. But now we can all hang out. Can anyone hear my dog barking?
So sorry, I'm back.
No, not at all. No reason to sit there and try not to cough. That's like trying not to sneeze, and you're just like, it's gonna happen. Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to see where you were in your head and in your heart going through that second pregnancy and then finding out. Did you have any comparisons to the first one and or self-doubts or?
Yes. So I relied really heavily on the fetal monitor because I was just unsure. I would do it almost every day. Not almost every day, but when I didn't feel anything. So, but I felt like, once we got over that hump, the 12-week hump, we were like so excited. We thought that this was it, and we passed that 19-week part where we lost the other baby, and then we took maternity shoot pictures, and so it was really hard. And then after the loss, it was just like, will I ever have a baby? Is this what it's going to be like? And you also have that thinking in the back of your mind that, my body is failing me. It failed my baby. It failed my husband. So
I can see how that pressure alone would just be devastating. Just thinking like, I'm a woman, I'm supposed to be able to be a mom, and to
right.
They're not standards in any way, but for me, I think like, oh, I want to be a woman, a wife, a mom, and I should be able to do things. My body shouldn't fail me. This is what it's made for. And then of course, especially when you see others around you who are like, they're having the babies and they're doing that, and you're just like trying everything not to compare, but how can you not when it's just shoved in your face?
Exactly.
It would just be so difficult, like, to get out of that. It's such a deep, dark kind of place to be. How was your husband through this? Was, supportive? And
he was amazing. He's just a very positive person, and he remained positive. So he was my backbone, and then I had a really good friend that was helping me through it as well, just spiritually. The check-ins, the prayers, and all of that. That was very instrumental of me staying positive. But with all that being said, it was still hard because, for example, I worked in customer service, and I would answer the phone and then hear babies in the background crying, and then I would just have to like put the phone on mute and just sob. That was after losing the second baby. But but in all that, also we're kind of not happy, but we realized that it wasn't the right time to have a baby. Because through all that time, we still were, we were just newly married. So we were able to enjoy each other and travel and, get to know each other. And that's something that we that's an advice that we give to couples, saying, enjoy each other. It's so important to get to know one another, just in case something like this just does happen, so you're not easily torn apart.
Yeah, because that will test the relationship more than anything.
Exactly.
I mean, in general, kids could lead to a divorce or a split or separation, because it's just, you're taking care of other lives. And so having kids in general, but then losing or dealing with something traumatic like that when you don't have answers, especially, just as humans in general, we tend to start blaming things. And so it can tear and have weight on a relationship where you're just trying to find a fault, I guess.
Yes.
Which there isn't one in this situation. It's just, that's the question I was going to ask. And if this is too personal, you don't have to answer. But you had spoke about a friend who's helping you spiritually and through prayers. Do you believe in God?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
I do too. And I through motherhood, I have just found myself so much closer to God. And I feel like if I was going through such a situation, it might test my faith. Did it test your faith? Did you question God?
Yeah. God, why me? Why can't I just have a healthy baby like everybody else? Why do I have to go through this? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
But all in all, this is, how I got through it was, I sound like I'm crying, but I'm really just sorry, one more time.
Not at all.
So, through the second loss, when I was delivering him, because I delivered him natural too, that's all I could think about was just sitting at the feet of Jesus and, just him embracing me through every painful contraction. And I remember saying, I can't do this again. I've already done it once. I can't do this again. A third time. And now we have, again, 3 beautiful babies, but if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to get through any of that.
Wow.
Not at all.
How long did it go until you guys decided, you know what, maybe we're ready. We're going to be strong enough. No matter the outcome, we're going to try again. And you guys, how long did you guys wait till you said you could do it?
So he was born November the 3rd, 2014. And our first living baby was born December the 30th, 2015.
Okay.
So about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you and your husband both decide hey, we're gonna do this, or was it he kind of was waiting on you to decide, or was he hey, no, we're gonna go through this and I'm gonna support you no matter what? When you guys had those conversations, because I can imagine they're hard to have, and I can see from his standpoint how it would be really difficult. You can't ask someone of doing something like this again, but then you also don't want to give up on it. And I'm sure in your situation you're in the same place of like you said, I don't want to do this again. How can you face something like that again? But then again, you don't want to give up. You believe in God of hey, God has chosen me to be a vehicle for children and to help him bring new life into this world. So how can I stop? And so how was that internal dialogue for you for that year until you guys, said, yeah, we're going to go for it?
So it was hard. It tested our marriage for sure. We went through quite a bit of bumps, but, through that we were able to really learn each other and, go into our marriage and the the future pregnancies, knowing that we could get through anything. But he was, again, so very supportive, and it's just something that we knew that we wanted. We both grew up knowing that we wanted to be parents. So that fueled our fire per se. We had fun. We went out every night before we got pregnant again. And when it was time, we knew when it was time, when we were ready to become parents. So we went for it.
That's awesome to be able to overcome all of that, not only once but twice, because that would create so much bigger doubt, because you think, well, no way is it going to happen again, and then it did. Just to be able to recover for that and go forward and say, I'm going to come through, and I believe I will keep my faith in God that he will provide.
Yeah.
So then I can provide. That's just, unbelievable.
Yeah. But I was a lot more cautious. I didn't have a baby shower.
Not to jinx it, so you didn't go through any of the steps.
I didn't buy anything. I didn't put up anything. I didn't have a maternity shoot. So a formal one. So
yeah.
just to be more cautious. But, we just kept enjoying every moment of it, yeah.
Did you feel like, because you had mentioned with the second, you were kind of like, okay, past the 8 weeks, past the 12 weeks, past the 15, past the 19, it kind of gives you that confidence. Did you have that going through now your third pregnancy?
Yeah.
Were you just counting by weeks and kind of checking them off? Yeah.
But when we got to the 24th week, that's when we really started relaxing and starting to plan like our hospital visits and like the tours and the classes and all of that stuff. It was hard, and I relied on just making sure I felt baby and making sure if anything was felt wrong, or like I remember I was in a couple car accidents, I would go straight to the doctor. But also, my doctor again was really good. So she put us, she classified me as high risk. So I was able to go in more frequently. I think every month I went in for ultrasounds, and then I think I was seeing 2 doctors and then going like every other week. And then towards the end, I think I was going weekly.
Wow. It's silly because it's not the title you want to have, high risk, but then it gives you a little bit of like a VIP access, which is really nice. But it makes sure that you're being taken care of. So that's really good. So then how was your delivery for your first one? You said you did it naturally, all 3.
Yes, unmedicated.
Sorry, well, I mean, wow.
Yeah.
How was it? How did you go about it?
So, in a perfect world, I would have wanted to deliver at home or in a birth center. But from the get-go, I told my OB, hey, I want to go unmedicated naturally, and I want to, prolong the cord being cut and, all this other stuff. And she said, she had some doubt. She said, I deliver mostly cesareans. It's very rare that I get any unmedicated natural births, but if that's what you want, we'll go for it. And I went in the night before, and they set me up with like the Cervidil, which was extremely painful. And
what
Cervidil. So
what's that?
And inductions, all my because I'm high risk, all of my pregnancies, my deliveries have to be induced. So I went in the night before, and then they inserted like this medication called Cervidil to ripen the cervix.
Okay.
And then in the morning, she, broke my water, and then we started Pitocin at a very low dosage. And I was able to labor. I labored for 8 hours with her, and then delivered at 3:46 on December the 30th. Yeah.
Wow. Man, I wanted to do a natural. Well, first I wanted to do a home birth as well, and so I looked into all of these midwives, and I looked at all of these birthing centers. And so we had thought that we had made a decision to do it at home. But then when we checked in with our OBGYN, she had told us this story that, and of course she's a doctor, so she's going to recommend things that are better, that she knows more about, which is being in the hospital. And of course it's the safer route because then they can get all the things. But she had told us a story that she knew a woman who had given birth to her 4th kid. So it wasn't like her first time or anything bad. Like she's fairly experienced in deliveries. So it's her 4th kid, but something had happened and she started bleeding at home. And they didn't get her to the hospital in time. And so she unfortunately had passed.
Oh, wow.
And that just terrified me. It terrified my husband more than anything because I thought, well, like that only happened to her. Not that it's not like, it's still big volume, and I'm sorry that it happened to her, but I was like, I hear all these other stories of home births that speak differently, it's so much more of an experience. But my husband was really scared. He's like, I can't lose the baby, and I can't lose you. Like, I can't even risk it. I can't even, like, it literally put so much fear into us. We canceled and scratched the whole plan, and we went to the hospital. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm still going to deliver naturally. I don't want any drugs. I want to like go through the experience. But then like 6th hour into it, I was like shaking uncontrollably. I had this fever almost, and I was in a lot of pain and shaking. So I said, give me the epidural, and then we delivered.
Yeah.
But I went in with a different idea.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I felt a little guilty because I had said like, oh, I'm going to do it naturally, and then I didn't. Mm-hmm. And then I've seen other moms who are like, well, I delivered it naturally. And I was like, why is it that they can do it and I couldn't do it? And my mom even said to me, she's like, oh, I did it natural. Don't worry, you'll be able to do it. And then I couldn't do it.
Yeah. And
so I was like, it's so silly because there's no reason at all to compare. Everyone's like journey into motherhood is so different. Yet for some reason, maybe because it is in our faces or whatever, but like it's hard not to look and see what others are doing. You're like, oh, I thought I was going to do that, but that's just not how it ended up.
Yeah.
But I'm really impressed by your strength, not only physical, but it's so much like emotional and mental strength that God has put you through. Like he's tested you and you said, no, God, I'm sticking around and I'm going to do it again and I'm going to do it my way. And he said, all right.
Yeah.
All right. And supported you through it, which is amazing.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, you're super. You're absolutely super. So now you delivered this baby girl on December 30th. What a precious gift, especially after waiting so long and all of these doubts.
Yeah.
So how was the first month bringing her home and the first year with her?
So, well, first I want to say that, you know, the comparison in motherhood is tough. You know, we all do it. We compare ourselves, you know, it feels like some people have a badge of honor over others. You know, I did it natural, or but in all, it doesn't matter as long as, you know, we have a healthy baby and, you know, that's the most important thing. But with her, you know, because I had went through all that loss, I was scared to death, you know, and not only that, but she spent the first night with us in the NICU because she was so tiny. And I guess because she was born at 37 weeks, all my babies have to be born at 37 weeks. She had a little bit of fluid in her lungs. So that was terrifying, like seeing her tiny little body in the NICU after everything that we went through. It's like, why, you know? But so we went through that, and it was just pretty scary. I would say, not just, you know, thinking, well, is this it? You know, we're going to lose her over this or over that, you know. Throughout her tiny first 6 months, I would say I was just on edge all the time, you know. And I think too, I did have like some undiagnosed postpartum depression. So
I bet.
Yeah.
Well, just so much to deal with, like in general. So much. Yeah, I literally can't imagine. Like I can't pretend to even try to put myself in that position. The only comparison I have is like, oh, you know, we brought her home and, you know, you do the mom checks of like, are they breathing? Are they okay? Do they, no blankets, nothing around them. Nobody get around my baby because she, you know, just everybody back off, you know, and you just kind of want to put them in like a bubble because you're just like, I need everything to be fine. Everyone just back off.
Yeah.
And you think of all the things you heard, like, hey, make sure, you know, there's nothing around him, no pillows, no blankets. But that's just like hearing things, you know, and you, of course you want to be careful, but like the fact that you had 2 losses that you had to emotionally overcome, and they're kind of sitting in the back of your mind, no matter how much work you do, the experience is still with you. And so you're just trying to carry this baby around while literally carrying 2 giant suitcases of, I don't want this to happen again. Yeah. Of just heavy rocks. And like you can't get very far. You can't jump up high or like, because it's just, they're there with you saying things could go wrong because they did.
Right.
And
I mean, again, and Lynn, it's just, it's crazy hearing all of this like put together in one little nutshell, and to see where we were and now, it's only God could bring you through this type of situation, because in the midst of losing these two babies and having our third baby, my husband lost one of his best friends, and I lost my aunt right at the time, right before I got, we found out that I was pregnant with her. And then close to the end, we were just continuing to just losing people in the first 2 years of our marriage. So just super thankful. It was hard, but I just realized, Jesus went through that too. He said, I can't bear this, but, he prayed and fasted and he endured it.
Yeah.
And so
it's interesting because sometimes you see like a post or a video or somebody comment, like even small things of like, oh, I'm tired, or the baby's being loud, or the, where I would imagine especially after just the first two pregnancies and what had happened to them, I would imagine your gratitude would be like, oh, it's almost like, oh, I wish I had somebody to complain about, but that's not what happened to me, like, because you've seen things go different way, you can appreciate all this more because you're just so grateful to now have this gift finally in your arms, to be able to hold your baby and hear them breathe and say your name. Like, it's tough for me to even like put words out. I'm not the one who went through this. Like, I'm just listening to your story. You're the one who's like going through it. It's just, it's really hard for me to comprehend because it's just so many tests over and over again.
Yeah. But, therapy. I had to go through a lot of counseling.
Did you?
Yeah, for sure. Consistent counseling just to deal with the unresolved grief, not really handling grief in the way that I should have, and motherhood is still hard. It's still hard, but I mean, I do have those like, oh, I wish I could get sleep, or, they're just screaming too loud, or, all of that. Motherhood is motherhood, and it's tough, and I'm always tired like a mother, so
it's good.
It's still tough, but just having all of those experiences to look back on, it just makes me even more grateful. Sometimes I hug my oldest daughter and I'm like, oh, my itty bitty baby, and every time I say that, I'm thinking of her, the NICU little bassinet, and I'm just being so grateful that she's here with us now. And that's just a testament of God, we can do all things through Jesus. And it was really him who put the right people in place and, held me when I needed to be held. And when I felt like no one really understood me, he was there. So,
wow.
Just so grateful.
Yeah, well, of course. And it's interesting because certain traumatic experiences, like we mentioned before, can question your faith, and you start questioning like, well, why me? Why would I have to go through that? Why would God do this? And I can see how, people can go off the deep end and say, no, God isn't real, or he wouldn't do this if he was. Certain different arguments you can make for the point. But I love that you came out so much stronger and you're like, no, God held me through this. When I needed to be held and cried, I spoke to God. And you had lost your father before, so sometimes we just need a parent to hug and hold us. And I love that idea that, like, God is our father. Like, he's there to watch over us, protect us. And if you feel like you have no one to go, you can always go to God, because he's always listening with no judgment. He'll say, I'm here for you. When it feels like no one is. You might have people who are there for you and are trying to be there for you. But sometimes it's hard to communicate what you actually need, and it seems like they are not helpful.
Yeah.
even when your faith was tested, I love that you came out and said, no, God was right there through it all.
Mm-hmm.
That's just beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Let's move on to the now
Mm-hmm.
more lighter
talk.
So you have the first girl. She's doing well. She's home. And so was it a long time till you had your second and third? And
No.
You're like, we're on a roll. We got to get going while the timing's good. Okay.
So our second baby was planned but not planned.
Okay.
So she was born 17 months after our first.
Okay.
And
like a year and a half.
Yeah. And then our third, we waited because we were tired. And she was born 2 years after the second baby.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had mentioned, so they don't know that you were twice pregnant before?
No, not yet.
It's when I got pregnant, my mom's like, hey, let me just submit like a form to you so you have it for the doctor in case they ask for your family history, like how many times my mom was pregnant. And so she just like emailed me this sheet where she wrote all of our birthdays. I have 2 older brothers, so it was like our birth dates are like weight, how we were born. And I didn't know this till I received this document, but on top there was this other birth that I had no idea about. She had a miscarriage.
Oh, wow. So
and I had no idea. I was just surprised. I was like, you know, and then I was like, well, I wish she would have told me, but then I'm like, well, does it change anything? You know, if she wasn't ready to tell me, if she didn't want to, I don't know what her reason was. I was just surprised that I didn't know, but I like, don't hold it against her and anything. It was just a funny way to find out.
Right.
Do you have an idea that you will share that with them, or
sure.
Just when they're older, or
just when they're a little bit older, when they can, you know, kind of understand just a little bit better. You know, they understand about heaven and angels and all of that, and Jesus and God. But, you know, I just want them to, I don't know, just grasp it a little better. Maybe around, I don't know. You know, you can't really plan those. I'm going to tell them at this age, but I plan to tell them, you know, at least before they're 13 or something, you know, when they're...
How old are they? What are their ages?
5, 4, and 2.
Okay. They're still really little.
Yeah.
They're still so young. Mm-hmm. Sweet girls. Are they all getting along? Are they...
Oh my
3
gosh.
Girls is a hoot.
Goodness.
Yeah?
It's so funny. They're like frenemies. Well, the first 2 are like frenemies.
Okay.
You know, they'll be best friends for 5 minutes, and then they'll scream and yell and kick and...
Sisters.
Yeah.
Do you have any sisters?
I don't, and
I don't either. I just what I've it's what I've heard is that they fight like sisters. Yes. But I also always wanted some because I saw the sisters who like borrow each other's clothes and like you always have that best friend, and I'm like, man, I don't have that.
They don't like sharing their clothes.
They don't.
No, that's mine. Take that off.
Do they get jealous of each other?
Of course, yes. So second baby, she's now saying, it's not fair that she gets this, or it's not fair that she gets that. And wow.
Is there like a certain stage? I've heard there's like the terrible twos, and I've heard that it's not fair coming quite a bit. I just don't know if it's like a stage that kids hit when they start to think of what's fair, what's not fair.
Yeah.
Or is it like a stage that like your girls are hitting at certain times, or is it just with one girl that has realized that?
I think that started around 4.5, but you know, they're in different schools, so they have different activities, and you know, one gets to have parties because of COVID and one doesn't, and it's not fair that she gets to bring cupcakes and cookies and stuff, and I don't, you know.
And so it's like, well, you guys are different ages, you're doing different things, but to them, they want to be the same, but not at all, because they want to be a little more special. Everybody wants to be a little more special.
Exactly.
So they're going to school. I've talked to some moms, especially those who have like a larger family, and they sometimes lean a little more towards homeschooling because it becomes a little bit easier. Although I would think with like a whole group of people, it might be hard. But what was your choice? They're going to school?
So during COVID, I decided to keep them home because our youngest was only like 3 months when COVID started. And, we were just unsure about everything and how she would handle something like that. So we just kept them home. And prior to that, I was like, well, maybe I should try homeschooling. I think I could do it. And, it happened. And I'm like, never again.
Like, this is why this happened, to show me that is not what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah. And, my best friend says that, it's always more difficult teaching your own children. So, yeah, maybe it just wasn't for me.
Interesting. So I read this thing, and I don't know how true it is, but it said that the parent that spends like more time with the kids, so is more loved and is more of the comfort, usually the default parent or the mom in most situations, but they are the parent that gets more abused because the kids kind of know, like, hey, I can kind of do whatever, you're gonna love me no matter what, and like they can bite and scratch you, but they just love you so much. Like, they wouldn't do it to a person they don't know. And usually they don't do it to the dad. But
exactly.
the default parent, someone who spends most time with them and is more attentive than others, so they're technically the more abused one, for lack of a better word. Not that your kids are like abusing you, but
it's a great word.
Sometimes I'm like, I feel abused by this tiny thing because she like bites and scratches me, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm your only milk provider right now. Like, you can't be mean to me. But it's interesting that happens, because when you think of it the other way, you're like, oh, the person who loves you the most, you should be loving back. But that's not actually the case when you break it down, because they feel more comfortable with you. They can do more things, say more things, test more things. And no matter what, because there's this unconditional love, you're going to be there. And so I can see how the schooling thing comes in as well, because if you're teaching your own kids, they're like, no, Mom, I want a break, or I need to do this. What about this? They have all of these kind of excuses versus to somebody who's a stranger, but still in like an authority figure, like a teacher.
Yeah, that's a great connection.
They wouldn't want to be testing it, or they don't know what it is they can get away with, maybe.
Exactly. So that's
tricky,
yeah.
Okay, so when you started schooling, they were like, no, Mom, we're not doing this. Or they were just kind of like...
I guess it just was, I just have that, my daughter, my oldest daughter, well, no, they're all pretty dramatic. They're all pretty dramatic, but, I guess they can get away with a little bit more with me because I'm more the lenient parent. Yeah. So, there is that resistance. I don't know what it was, but it just was terrible.
I feel like it'd just be
exhausting.
Yeah. Because not only are you mom all day, but now on top of it, you're a teacher. And then when it's done, you don't get to take a break. They're like, no, Mom, where's lunch and dinner?
Exactly.
And they can't go home and complain about their teacher because you're right there. And so they're just like, she made us do this homework. And so it can create a little bit more tension of things, if you're giving them more responsibility.
Yeah.
So I can see how that could be a little bit more.
But there are moms who have I know my husband's coworker's wife has 8 kids, and she was all for homeschooling. She even thought about doing it this year. But I don't think it panned out. But, there are moms.
You can send your girls to her because she's already taken a classroom, and they'll be nice to her. They won't be as nice to you, but just everyone needs to take their kids and send it like one house over. Like, just take your group one house over and let that mom take care of them for like 3 hours a day. Everyone switch, and then you're like, just come back. I'll make you sandwiches. It's fine. Is that mom swap? There's a show called Wife Swap where they like they change the wives, and it really lets you in on how different people do things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which would be good for kids to see, because usually it grows into this appreciation of like, oh my gosh, Mom, I didn't know that this other mom was crazy. I love you, Mom, so much. Please forever be my mom. So maybe you need to send them over. Send them to the neighbors for a day. Just send them over to that mom with the 8 kids who, like, I would imagine they all have to actually really do share so many things. And it's probably a lot of, like, hand-me-downs. And so I feel like your girls would be like, no, Mom, everything is fair. Everything is fair, Mom. We don't mean it.
Yeah. But I think that, there is, because I was with my oldest daughter, from birth till sending her to school at 5. And, I do notice that she doesn't know how to verbalize it, but I can tell that I'm deeply missed, even though she calls me her teacher's name, from the time she gets home to the time she goes to sleep. But, she's more into, Mommy, I want to cuddle. Mommy, will you play with me? Mommy, please don't go without me to the store. I want to go with you. So it's crazy how their little minds work, and they do appreciate it, even though we feel so used and abused.
I threw that abused word in there, and it fits, but it feels so wrong, but it fits. Well, I'm glad they're being so nice to you, and you can see like your heart change, talking about the loss versus what you've gained, through your path, certain things that you couldn't foresee, and you can't predict them, you can't plan for them. And perhaps God put those situations into your hands because you are so strong, you can handle it and help others, because others will face those situations and they have nobody to lean on. They don't have anybody to ask a question, or maybe a mom who's listening to this can say like, oh wow, I went through the same thing, but I never heard anyone else open about it. Like sometimes it's just nice, it's unfortunate, like to hear that someone else has also gone through something. Just feels like you're not alone. Just for a little bit, you're like, okay. Especially with you, because you can do it, and then you have such a beautiful turnaround, beautiful story. I hope it can encourage. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thank you. You did it. You're raising 3 younger girls. And I just but I know that you're going to raise them to be such graceful, grateful young ladies, like they're going to be moms and they're going to be wives, and you are responsible in shaping their attitude and who they are going to become. And when they have their babies, they're going to come to you and say, Mom, what the heck am I doing with this potato? And you're going to be like, hold on, let me show you. Like, this is what you do. Don't worry. And you're going to be right there with them by their side no matter what.
Yeah.
And so whatever God has put in front of you for you to learn, not only for you to carry, but for you to pass down to your kids. And God, hopefully nothing. I hope they have most amazing, best pregnancies and best births and all the best to them, because they deserve it.
Yeah.
But you're there to help them through if they're not feeling well. Even in through their pregnancy, they're just having like a food aversion. You'd be like, hey, you know what? Let's sit together and we're just going to watch a movie all day and we're just going to be sick together and like, don't worry about it. You're going to have this, and you do already have, but they are growing up in such a warm, loving environment. And what's cool is knowing that like, hey, like when my daughter grows up, there's 3 other girls out there that are going to be rocking it. And whether they know each other or not, like they're going to be making this community, this world a better place just by being there and being brought up in such a loving, grateful home.
So true.
You're doing that. It's all to you. You're doing this.
Yeah, but I couldn't do without, without God, because, even though I have went through all of these difficulties, that's what he said. This is going to be an awesome life, but it's not going to be easy. There's going to be ups and downs, but I'll be with you through it all. And that's what he's done. And, at every stage of motherhood, I remember at least one person who helped me through each stage. So, through the pregnancies, I had one good friend. And then when I was, a mom with 2 young babies and I needed socialization with other stay-at-home moms, there was one mom, and now that mom introduced me to another mom that's helping me through this phase. And then, I've known my best friend for a good amount, like 10 years, and now she's helping me through like the school stage, and now I'm able to help my other best friend who's having her first baby. So it's just like a big community, that village, that everybody talks about, that I'm just so grateful,
It's interesting because in the current age, we've pulled so far away from what motherhood and birthing used to be, you know. You had your village, small town, your aunts and grandmas are there, and all the ladies within the community, they all kind of gather, they help you through it, they're there to talk you through it, they're there to help take care of the baby when need to. And it's such a big community participation. Like, everybody gets a participation award because everyone shows up and does it. But that's not where we're at anymore. You know, people move away and we rely heavily on technology, which can only serve you so far. Because when you need to shower, your computer is not going to hold the baby for those 10 minutes.
No, that's true.
But it's so important to have that tribe, that community, whether it's one person, because sometimes that's all you need, or multiple people. And sometimes, like you said, you meet them at different points of your life. But somebody who can help you, whether it's physical help or just being there and listening, or offering advice or not offering advice. Sometimes it's just so nice not to have any advice.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
But it's so, like, there's this need for it, you know, for this togetherness in this community. And I feel I was very alone through my pregnancy, and then postpartum, also very alone. You kind of, friends start dropping, and you're just so busy with the baby that you can't tag them in things and reply right away or go and meet them. And so it's understandable that relationship fade. It's not anything bad. It's just part of growing up.
Right.
But it just becomes into this really lonesome self. And then I was talking to somebody previously, but I was like, I have this mom anxiety. Like, I want to go meet other moms and, like, socialize in the mommy groups, but I have anxiety about it. Because I haven't been social with moms, so I don't even know what the heck I'm going to do, or, like, how it's all going to go. Yet I want to be out there. But I'm like, why am I scared to go and talk to other moms?
Because it's scary.
But it is scary. Yes, thank you. I wish it wasn't. Yeah. Especially, like we talked about previously, you know, like, everyone has their own way. And so it's like, if you say something wrong and then they don't do it that way, you're just like, I'm sorry I said that. I still think you're a good mom. That's not what I meant.
But it's just a realization that you can mom your own way, you know, and they can mom their own way, and just giving them that space and that support to do what they believe they can do. And then, you know, the loneliness is real, and there was many a times where I felt super alone, but like I said, God somehow provided me with someone when I needed it the most. Not, you know, what I thought I needed, but what I needed.
So interesting how that falls. Yeah. And it's incredible to be able to, like, recognize it when it happens. Because often I want to be like a toddler and be like, no, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. And God's like, I don't care what you wanted. This is what you need. I am your parent and I will provide. And it's just silly when you're like, oh, so-and-so came into my life at this perfect time, you know, and when you look back at it and you're like, I needed that. That was my crutch to make it through. I was, falling over. I almost didn't make it to this destination, but this person helped me through. And there's been multiple people that I should probably reach out to and say, like, hey, actually, if it wasn't for you, I don't know where it might be. I would have stopped on some, like, bench somewhere and just plopped myself because I couldn't make it anymore.
And it's when you least expect it, because I remember there was one day where I'm like, I told my husband, we need to get out this house. I really want to go to the park. Let's take the girls to the park. And then when we got there, there was a neighbor there. Her daughter had on the exact same dress that my daughter had on. Wow. And that's how, you know, our daughters, like, you know, collided, and, you know, their family was coming over to my family. And that's how, you know, now it's a chain reaction. Now we're able to meet other moms in the school that we go to now, and, you know, meet more neighbors in the neighborhood. So that wanting, or that urge to go to the park, led to a major chain reaction that, you know, really propelled us in parenthood. It's
so silly because it is, like you said, when you least expect it. So it could be at that trip to the grocery store, or I always think of it like if I'm late or someone's late, I'm like, it's for a reason. They're going to miss that crash, or they're going to avoid that traffic, or they're going to, you know, get locked out. But then somebody comes and now you meet this person that's going to help you along. It's such
For
an
sure.
intricate puzzle that all fits together, but you don't see it. I mean, God can see it. He's looking from above and he's like, this is a really cool puzzle that I just put together with 7 billion pieces. But from our point of view, you know, it's just so vast and we're like, well, how does this fit in? Or how does this fit in? And again, if you're planning or doing stuff, you're just like, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I needed to do. And God's like, I will show you what you need.
Yeah, just trust
at the
me.
right time.
I got this. Just trust me, you know.
It's difficult. It's that like trust fall to know that like, hey, when I let go and I fall, I will be caught. But like that jerky feeling, if you're like on top of a roller coaster when you're about to drop, it's just like, but what if? But like, what if nobody catches me? And like your breath leaves your chest and you're just like, I don't know. I can't breathe. I feel like I don't know if I'll make it out. And then surrendering into it and trusting that trust to be like, God will uplift me and help me through and carry me through whatever I need to go through. But it can be, I mean, and I believe in God and I pray but there are many times that sometimes I'm like, what the heck? Why the heck is this going on?
Yeah. And only he knows. And then eventually we see it. And then that just builds our faith even more.
Yeah. I feel like your story is just such a story of faith.
Oh, thank you.
To be tested multiple times and then to receive this beautiful family.
Yeah.
And the people that it's brought into your life as well. Like that's your community. That's your family as well. Maybe not blood family, but that's your family.
Yeah.
And you're helping other people.
Oh my goodness. You're going to make me cry.
Well, it's true. And I hope you know that because it's, like we said, it gets so lonely.
Oh, it sure does. Yeah, for sure.
And just to know that like, hey, I'm not alone. That already helps. And so others have provided that for you, but you're providing that for others. And you're going to help with your girls and these other ladies. Like, who the heck knows who you're going to meet tomorrow?
Exactly.
Or next week. Yeah. Like, God's going to put all these other people into your life. Or, you know, maybe take them out. Maybe you're not agreeing with somebody and you're like, you know what? They are just taking all of my time and energy. And then they'll move away and then you'll have free space for somebody else. Like, people just kind of come in and exit at that right time, whether we accept it or not.
Exactly.
And you just have such a good outlook on it because you've been tested. And I'm so thankful that I've met you. But
thank you.
You're really incredible.
And so are you for starting this. I mean, you're going
to
make an imprint and help
I don't know what I'm doing.
There. It's okay.
I want to talk to moms. I want to talk to moms. I just want to know the stories. I want to know what everyone's doing. Like, we're raising kids who are going to do stuff.
Yeah.
It's so, and we're not alone. There's tons of us.
Yes.
And it's so crazy to me that like once I stepped into motherhood that I was like, something's not adding up. There's just, I want more moms talking. I want everyone sharing stories. I want us all helping one another. I want it to feel like we're back in that village, like just helping one another. Because I feel like if we have more community, we can do more things and educate more, provide more advice. Whether you want to take it advice or not, like you don't have to take it. It's just knowing that it's out there in the spirit of being helpful. Like
for sure.
That's what I want.
Especially in just being a Sam, all in itself is just really hard. You know, our world has changed so much with the dynamic of home. And now it's frowned upon now if, you know, you stay home with your children. So,
I've had
a lot of lazy and all this and all that. But
I've heard multiple... Sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
I've heard multiple sides of stay-at-home mom where it's either, oh, you're lazy, you just hang out with your kid while they just watch TV so you're not doing anything. And then the other aspect of, oh, you're oppressed because you're staying home and you can't work. And they're just both such extremes.
Yes. Yeah.
Because most stay-at-home moms, like, I just see it like you choose to be with your kids because you are choosing to be their guardian and you want to spend that time with them. And there's nothing lazy about it because you're constantly working and you don't have time off or a break or a lunch or like for somebody, you can't just clock out at 6 and they'd be like,
Yeah.
sorry, can't pick up the phone, can't answer. It's like, no, you're constantly working. There is no break. And it's not in any way oppressive. You're supporting your husband for them to go and follow their dreams, for them to support, be the man of the house while you help take care and nurture the kids. Like,
Right.
it's such a beautiful dynamic that has been like spit on, I feel like, by society and culture. And they're just like, well, all moms go to work and all girls go to work and like go to school and go to this. And that's where I was in LA, and I was like, I went to college and I'm going to be an independent lady.
Yes.
I don't need nothing. And that was kind of like hammered into my head, is that I didn't need a family. I don't need no man. I don't need no family. I don't need anything. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that seems reasonable. I'm going along with this. And you kind of nod. And then certain things in your life happen. You're like, whoa, I was in a fog. What the heck? How did I even believe this? And I want to tell ladies and girls that, like, being stay at home, being a mom, it's such an honor. Like,
It is.
It's not a bad thing. For some reason, it somehow is like displayed that way, and it isn't. Like, it's such a wonderful thing. You get this bond with these tiny humans, and like you get to help them grow. And I want to see moms on red carpet. I want moms getting awards, and like I want moms to be recognized. Like, hey, she's a cool mom, instead of like, oh, this lady has millions and millions of views for doing like a naked music video, and you're just like, man, that sucks that that's the role model.
Yeah. And for years I had, just that guilt. I did spend all that time getting my degrees, and I should be out there working. But, I stayed at home because it was out of necessity. Why go to work and pay someone to watch my children when I could do that for myself? So we know it's always that battle, but that's guilt that I have with the first two, just not enjoying more of being in the moment and enjoying what I have. In the back of my mind, there was always that struggle. Oh, I need to be at work. Oh, I need to do this. They're not where they should be. They should be in a like in a Montessori school, or that, et cetera, et cetera. But it's that constant battle that we have in our minds as moms of, I should be working, or I should be staying home, or am I doing this right, or should I be feeding them jar food? Just breastfed or formula fed. Just that constant battle. But it's just like a whole. There's a new generation coming, and I do see a lot of moms, especially with COVID, staying home, realizing I'd rather be with my kids than out there.
Plus, they can't save a lot of money. I hear some stories where some mom's like, oh, I have to work, so many hours a week, so to pay for childcare. And she's like, and I don't spend time with my kids. And I'm like,
but you don't have to.
Yeah, I'm like, don't pay the childcare. Pay yourself.
Right.
So they eliminate each other.
Exactly.
Like, you take care of that payment. Your husband doesn't have to worry about that payment. You're relieving him of any daycare payment at all, which they can be so expensive, by providing that service. And you get to stay home and hang out with your kids. Like, it's there. It's just, again, there is a new generation, and I just want to give them all the information so they can make the best choice that will benefit their own family, because it is going to be different for everybody. And like a single mom, of course, has to go to work because she's got to provide for her kids.
Right.
And so for every family, it is going to be different. Right. I don't want that negative idea that like being a stay-at-home mom is a bad thing, or oppressed or lazy, when that's not the truth. I want people to know the full truth of every aspect of things, and then like, hey, you go make your own choice what you think is going to work best for you, and I will support it, because now you have all the information to make the best decision. But if you see something, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I told my grandma, once the kids are in school, I'm going to do this and do that and do this and do that. And she says, look, sweetheart, the greatest investment that you could ever invest in are your children. And from that point, I was like mind blown. And then my mind just slowly started to change about this whole work home balance. And then I realized, with them being in school, I don't want to have to ask permission to take off to take care of my sick kid. I enjoy taking them to school and making sure they have everything they need. I just want to be a professional mom, like I told my husband. So I'm finally starting to just release all of the statistics and all of the negativity surrounding staying home, and just enjoying it. And it's something I wish I had done a lot sooner, a long time ago.
But again, like, it's cool because now you have this other, like, almost like an epiphany. You have this other outlook on it that you can see both sides and explain both of those sides. Mm-hmm. Similarly, at first I was like, oh, I should be doing this or I should be doing that. Am I making the right choice? And I think that's just going to continue on. But I love what your grandma said. Like, sometimes I get caught up in it where I'm like, oh, like the dishes didn't get done or the laundry didn't get done and I didn't do anything, so I didn't accomplish enough and I wasn't productive. And it's like, well, I can't be mad at myself because today
you kept a human alive.
Yes, that's it. And it's so silly because, like, when you see it that way, you're like, wait, of course, that's most important. What am I talking about? Like, what am I talking about? But we get caught up in these, like, small things of, like, our own to-do list that we didn't get to. And so
exactly, it's
our own, like, ropes that we put on ourselves that kind of hold us back of, like, fully diving into it and being present in the moment. Because we're like, well, maybe, we're still second guessing, like, is this right? Yeah. Maybe I should be doing this, and kind of like going in, coming out, going in, coming out. It's like, well, you either jump in this pool and like, let's have fun in it, or you're going to keep going in and out and just getting cold.
Exactly.
But it's hard to see because you're like, well, is it right? Is it not? I don't know. Maybe.
You can mom your own way, You determine what's right. You know what's best for your child. So
I love that. Yeah. I do have to end it and go feed my baby. But before I go, I wanted to ask you, that you have so much advice, what would be the one piece of advice you'd want to pass on to moms who are listening?
Slow down, and it doesn't matter if the dishes are washed or the house is clean. What matters is that your baby is healthy and happy, and also to rest. We have to rest. And if you feel like it's getting too hard and you need someone to talk to, find a good therapist, because sometimes it's going to be harder it's just going to be too hard for our normal friends. Sometimes we need someone who's going to help, for unresolved issues and grief and, whatever else we might have there that we need advice from. So just slow down and rest. We need rest to take care of our babies.
It's so hard to forget because you're just going, and you're taking care of someone else, and you put yourself on the back burner, and then you're like, well, why am I tired? And you're like, you haven't stopped. You haven't stopped. You haven't rested at all. Like,
learn to listen to your bodies. Yeah.
Silly. Well, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your beautiful story.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I can't say it enough how, like, blown away I am by your story. And
I appreciate that.
You go hug your 3 little girls.
Well, I will. Oh, they're sleeping now. It's my time.
Okay.
It's my time.
There you go. Well, then you rest. You go read a good book. You go watch some show you don't care about. Sprawl out on the couch. Take a good bath. Do whatever you want to do.
Thank you.
You'll hug them in the morning.
Will do.
All right. Thank you for joining me, Elisia.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. And I'll see you next time.